Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser-known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. Hey guys, I'm back with Claudine, and today we have an update about Notre Dame for you. So let's have Claudine take it from here.
Yeah, just recently, there's been three exciting things that have happened at Notre Dame. And even though it opened on December 8th of last year, there still is a lot of work to go, a lot of things to be done, and there's things we're waiting on. But every once in a while, something exciting comes down the pipe, and we are very excited. Just a few days before, at the end of November 2024, just in front of Notre Dame, when I walked by early one morning, all of a sudden I walked by and I literally gasped and like was just freaking out because part of the fence that had hidden the front doors of Notre Dame was gone. And I was like, oh, no way. And there was something that was close to there that I was really, really missing. Of course, the cathedral itself. But there was a marker that was just in front of Notre Dame that I would go to every time I'd visit. And other people do this too. And I couldn't tell if it was there. Then when I went on December 8th, that evening, the first thing I did was go over to see if I could find it, and it was all covered up. So there's this thing in front of Notre Dame called the Point Zero, so point zero. And it is sometimes it's also called kilometer zero. It's just a few feet away from the visitors entrance. It's literally like a few feet from the stanchions of where you will go in. That changes all the time. So if you're listening to this at a different time, just go close to it and then just look down. But it's a brass marker that was embedded in the parvis of Notre Dame. And it dates back to April 22nd, 1769, when Louis XV created a patent that measured all the roads from a single point in Paris known as kilometer zero. It took a bit longer for the marker to be added, precisely 155 years. But in October of 1924, after a decade of discussion, the president of the city council, this was before they had the mayor, laid the brass plaque at the center of this marker. So this is an octagonal stone marker. It's engraved. It says Point Zero de Route de France around its edges, where all the roads lead to Rome. Everybody has heard that one. The streets of France actually lead to Notre Dame. There's 14 national roads that are measured from that point going all across France.
I love that because I've seen those before and I've never really know exactly where they are all the time, like you just kind of randomly spot them.
Yeah, well, there's only one. This is the only one that is there, and it's in Paris. There are the Arago markers, is probably what you're thinking of. That's the meridian line. But the Point Zero is within, so it's the stone, in the stone part of it, it says the Point Zero. And then in the center, it looks kind of like a sun, and it's all in brass. So there's superstitions and rituals associated with this medallion. Some people make a wish and toss a coin. Others believe that if they kiss their loved one while standing on the marker, your love will last forever. It's probably the same people that put the locks all over things. My favorite was to stand on the marker, spin around clockwise 3 times, and that means you'll always return to Paris.
Oh, that's what that's about. I had no idea.
So I always used to do this on the last day of every visit when I would come to Paris. And then when the fire, of course, on April 15th, 2019, because this is so close to the facade, that was completely gone. So for more than years, the marker was hidden behind a fence and under protective flooring. And the first chance we had to get close enough to it again and to find it, it was still under this big protective plate. But the other day, on a very, very hot morning in Paris on July 1st, I was walking to Notre Dame and I saw some men leaning over on the ground in orange vests. And I was like, what are they doing? And for a second, I thought maybe that's the marker. But then I thought, no, because in September, they're going to completely start to rip apart the whole part in front of Notre Dame because they're going to do this huge reconfiguration and planting of trees and everything else. So I thought, oh, we won't see the marker until after that because that's all going to be torn apart. But as I got closer, I was excited to see that they were preparing the return of the brass plaque. I was going into Notre Dame and I stopped on the side, and luckily it wasn't packed because then just people went by me. But I got there and I literally gasped because the workers were there and they had just placed the base of it in. So after 6 years, it is finally back. The original medallion was removed after the fire and will eventually be put into the Musée Carnavalet, the City of Paris Maintenance and Supply Center. That's the official name. Hoped to clean and reuse the original, but it was severely damaged and covered with lead, so they made a new one. And as tradition serves with the installation, the names of the craftsmen were added below the medallion and put in there.
So that's the whole history of it. And now they covered it up.
Well, they don't want the names visible to the public, but I think they should have had that because everybody wants to see that. But, it's very people like their privacy here in France, but it was pretty cool to see it. After leaving the cathedral, I went back over and checked on it, thinking, oh, it's probably going to be covered up, because they placed it in the ground and I'm sure things have to set. And it was completely wide open. Nobody was around it. It wasn't blocked off. Nobody paid any attention. I walked up to it and took a picture, and I was standing there looking at it, and people just walked right over it without even looking at it.
You're
So
like,
it's kind of
only.
it's back to what it used to be. But I didn't have to spin around this time on it because since I live here, but my grandparents visited and took a picture in the early 1980s. And so I need to go back and take a new picture with his picture of the new one. It is a little bit different. The other one, and maybe just because it was so worn away, it almost had like these rings around the center part before where you had the actual like starburst of it. So it looks a little bit different, but it's just pretty exciting that it's actually finally back. And I've had a couple people since I shared that on Instagram send me pictures of somebody with their daughter that did it, and was told somebody about it the other day, and so she went and spun around on it before she was leaving, just a few days later.
I need to keep an eye out for people spinning now.
Yeah, well, I think most people don't know that. Usually, every time I always did it, people looked at me like I was crazy. Sometimes you will find the coin sitting on it, but for the most part, it's not one of those things that is, it's not like the love locks where everybody knows about it. So it's kind of, it's kind of a little secret. So that's good because its magical powers will be just saved for those in the know.
And now you guys know. Go spin your little hearts out.
Go spin around. That same exact day, they also announced once again that the towers of Notre Dame are going to be opening on September 20th. So people could once again walk up the side and go get a view of the city of Paris and also into the roof. It's funny because they said that it was going to be open by the summer, and that's like literally the first day of fall, like first day of fall itself. So I think that's very timely for how Paris does things when they say when something's going to be done. Just for the most part, add on a few months or even a year to the schedule because this is September 20th is the first day of fall. But I guess maybe I'm just being technical.
We like your technicalities.
But we're excited it's going to be open. So the two towers of the western facade date to the 13th century. A gentleman named Bishop Maurice de Sully. He was the creator and the father of Notre Dame. He died in 1196. He never saw the start or even the completion of the front facade. Sully became the Bishop of Paris in 1160 and immediately pushed for and funded a construction of a grand cathedral. He wanted it to be the tallest in the world on the Ile de la Cité, which is where the Chapel of Saint Etienne stood. Construction on the facade began in 1202. In 1223, the doors and just below the Gallery of the Kings was completed, and the North Tower began. For 17 years, slowly and day by day, large stones were pulled up the tower until the North Tower was revealed in 1240. So the tower now and the whole everything they're doing on the cathedral, they have to do it in the way that it was originally done, but luckily they get to use cranes because back then they were pulling up, 69 meters high into from the ground just with a pulley system, rope and pulley system pulling up these massive pieces of stone that they would then carve into create the tower and the other ornamental pieces.
That's so beautiful. That's really cool. I love that.
I'm
The,
sure that the workers appreciate those cranes.
yeah, it's hard looking at them
Yeah. But now with your iPhone, you could delete them out of your picture. It's really easy.
if you got the new one.
Yeah, the South Tower was built from 1235 to 1250. Both of them are topped with a terrace and a balustrade, giving one of the best views of Paris. One of my very favorite pictures of my grandmother is from the top of the South Tower, and I look at it every single day. Eagle-eyed visitors may notice that the North Tower, sometimes called the Big Tower, is a little bit wider than the South Tower. It is 4 feet wider, which is the width of one of the statues in the Gallery of Kings. And if you look down at where the Gallery of Kings are, there's 8 of them in the North Tower and 7 of them on the South Tower. So that's a little trick. You could use that at trivia night.
I love a good trivia night.
Yeah, they need to have one about Notre Dame. But on the night of the fire, the flames reached the North Tower and was the moment that everything became critical. The tower houses the 10 large bells of Notre Dame. There's 8 in the north and 2 in the south. The bells of the North Tower, those 8 combined, are a combined weight of 18.3 tons. They're housed in the 19th century belfry that was rebuilt by Viollet-le-Duc. As the flames got closer to the tower, the firemen knew that they had 30 minutes to contain the fire or lose the entire cathedral. If it had burned the belfry and those 18 tons of bells would have just plummeted, taking down the entire facade. So luckily, as we know, they did just that. They did save it as the Pompiers. 2 of the 8 bells, the Saint Marcel and Saint Gabriel, were damaged by thermal shock, and a few of the other rafters in the belfry on the southeast side of the tower were damaged by the flames. All of the bells were removed, and a significant restoration on the belfry was undertaken, including they had to lift the entire thing up, almost a foot, just to replace some of the supporting pieces, which would be just I can't even imagine how you even do that. Over the next 2 months, the work on the towers will conclude, and they'll reopen to the public again with a new layout and additions. The visitors experience will be enhanced. And what I'm very excited about, it'll give you a little bit of the cathedral's history and the renovation process. You will now, instead, if you ever did this before, you went in the North Tower up and down the South. Now it's flipped. You'll go up the South Tower over onto a new oak staircase that was designed by the love of my life, Philippe Villeneuve, and some of the other architects. It's a new oak staircase that will then link to the stone stairs. It totals 424 steps to reach the very top.
We've all done those. Have you done them?
I didn't because it was always when I would come, the line was always so long. So I'll definitely do it this time, first thing in the morning after it's been open. Well, I'll probably wait till like November. But the staircase is really amazing. It's a new double helix staircase, which means It's basically like two staircases in one, so you people could be going up and coming down without crossing. It is also the largest in the world now. It's nearly 70 feet high. It's 178 steps. It weighs 22 tons, and it's crafted from 1,200 pieces of oak. The entire structure was constructed inside the tower because there's no way to make it offsite and drop it in. Done by 15 carpenters, three cabinet makers, and one wrought iron worker. It took over 9,200 hours to create it. That is over 1 year of work of working hours. It's amazing. I've seen pictures of what it looks like, and it's also has to be done in that period. So there's not a lot, most everything is like tongue and groove and wooden dowels, everything that goes into hold it all together. And it's pretty amazing. As you enter now, along the way, you'll find models of the cathedral, the story of Viollet-le-Duc, and the 19th century renovation. A new glimpse into the belfry, and also you will be able to see Emmanuel and Marie, the big bells on the south side. And so it's going to be really amazing. Originally, they had said that they were adding in a gift shop or a bookshop on the North Tower coming down, but that was probably a way to get me to go in there. But I haven't found anything lately about that. And actually, it does sound, I would be surprised if they did that because, restocking and setting up that carrying boxes of books up those stairs, I don't think sounds like a fun thing for anybody.
Yeah, definitely no thank you.
No, thank you. But the price of the visit will increase. It used to be 10 euros. Now it's going to be at least 16 euros. And reservations will be needed in advance. I'm going to put this on my website, and please only click on the link I give you. It's the official monuments website. Be very, very careful of buying these tickets from anywhere else. There is a huge problem right now going on with the Louvre and other places. There's even when I was doing research on something, I found a completely fraudulent Notre Dame website of trying to sell the tickets now. They say the start of September, which means it'll probably be a few days before the opening on September 20th. But just be very, very careful when you're looking for tickets for anything in Paris. Make sure you are getting it from the official place. And a lot of the websites actually look kind of fancy, and you would think they are, but just be very careful with where you get the tickets. But you will at first having it open to September. End of September is probably good because it will be starting to get into the slower period. So it's probably better that it's not opening in this at this peak of summer. And so if you are coming in the fall, in October, November, December, this is a great thing for you to get to see.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for that to be open again. I did it with my parents years ago, and we had so much fun. It's a beautiful view up there.
Yeah, I know. I want to go up there with my pictures my grandpa took and recreate those ones. So that I'm excited about. And one other little addition is the return of something that's coming to the roof. In a incredible stroke of luck, on April 11th, 2019, just 4 days before the fire, the 12 apostles and the four evangelist statues flew over the streets, and they were going to be sent down to the south to be cleaned up. Now, they were very patina green statues that lined the ridges of the roof, looking down from the spire. One of them was looking at the spire, but the rest of them were looking away from the spire down at the ground. And they popped off their heads and then carried them off with cranes flying over the city. In 1842, Viollet-le-Duc and Baptiste Lassus, who was the other architect, were selected to rehabilitate Notre Dame. His early plan, including two additional spires that would have gone onto the top of the towers. The former spire had been removed in 1797 due to safety concerns after it had been hit by lightning. An entire generation never knew the church with a spire. So, following the renovation of Saint-Chapelle, Viollet-le-Duc was chosen to create and restore Notre Dame. He worked with Adolphe Victor Geoffroy Duchamp, who also collaborated with him on Saint-Chapelle to design the statues. The apostles began in 1848. They you see these statues, and I think a lot of people think statues like this are just completely bronze, but there's a whole inner structure that's created with iron, and then it's covered with copper sheets, making it a much lighter statue that could stand far up above the streets. They were taken to this offices of SOCRA, SOCRA. It's all an acronym. The statues arrived and the work began. The internal structures had to be partially replaced. They micro sandblasted with apricot powder to remove the outer layer of patina, and dark bronze color was added to it and coated with wax. So these 16 statues for the last few years have been at the Architecture Museum in the Trocadero, and they were removed back in the spring and tucked away. But on June 5th, they returned to Notre Dame to the base. They are getting prepared and awaiting their launch back up to the side of the spire to keep an eye on it. But last week on Monday, July 24th at 7:30 p.m., the statue of St. Paul was the first to be returned to the roof. St. Paul was once a persecutor of Christians, had a divine revelation, and converted, becoming a preacher. He was killed in 64 AD with a sword and cut off his head. He now rests his hand on a sword and strokes his beard in the statue that you see. But I wasn't able to see his launch back up to the roof, but I went that night at about 10:30 at night because it's still completely bright and shiny here in Paris. I walked around it 3 times trying to find him and realize he is tucked inside of the scaffolding. So you can't see him yet, but the open work of the spire should be done, they say August, and the rest of the statues will be going up. And I, of course, will be keeping an eye on it, and I can't wait to see them all again. So it's all very exciting. We never thought this day would come. It felt like it'd take forever. And now we're closer and closer to seeing the whole facade returned back to the way it used to be.
And it's just around the corner. I can't believe August. That's crazy.
I know it's already, yeah, it's already going to be here in no time. The open work is, it will take, it just, there's so many bends and curves and details in it to cover it with lead is taking a bit of time. So, they have to get it all precisely, so it could be watertight. But I can't wait to see more of the statues going up.
Well, guys, you got it. Tune in next week for more information and head on over to ClaudineHemingway.com to learn more. Thanks for listening today, guys. If you're interested in learning more about Claudine, her tours, history, and the beautiful photographs that she posts all over Instagram, tune into her website, ClaudineHemingway.com.